So just a few minutes before start. Okay, so again, today, welcome everybody to our first webinar regarding sustainability. And now we are focusing in circular design. I hope that you get a lot of information today and that you are more curious so you can send some uh, questions to us. So we have started recording this meeting. Please let us know if somebody doesn't want to be recorded. Um, we record this so the persons that are interested in know better on this can have some access, and we can have as well public this information, and for our internal employees too. So please let us know if you have any issues with the recording. And here I can present Camila and Linda, which are my team back now that are going to support us with questions and different comments. So please, if you have any questions, use the questions and answers that you have in the top of your window, and we can take those questions that are really important for you to know and that we see that are really relevant. But even though if we don't have the time to answer all the questions, we will take them with us so we can take that as well in the future and answer it for you. So let's start as part of this webinar. And let me just share my screen for this. Does anybody see my screen already?
Outlook.
There, great.
Yeah.
So this event is part of the Circular Week of the Innovo and the Polish Circular Hotspot. We decided it was a good time for us, even being in Sweden, because we think that circular design should be a global issue, not only for certain countries. So thank you very much to this institute and this Polish Circular Hotspot to let us participate on this. And it's very important for us that you are here with us and you make questions. So please feel free to make questions, to make comments, and to start some discussions. We will have some time at the end to discuss. So please keep your questions. But if we find that there are any important thing that we need to discuss first, Linda or Camila can help me with that. So let's start. First, I want to start with two basic questions. The first one is, how do you think that we can make the transition from a linear take, make, waste model to a truly circular economy? I'll provide a couple of seconds so you can provide some answers in the chat if you want to participate, of course. Okay, the next question will be, what fundamental shifts should we do in our thinking and practices to make the transition successful? If there are any ideas, please let us know in the chat and we can comment them. Okay, take these questions as an introspection for you and as well thinking about how your company is doing in terms of these aspects. If you are already in the way or there's a long path for you to go. So first, I'll present how this webinar is going to be divided. It's going to be divided basically in 3 blocks. First, of course, we want to present who we are as a company, Together Tech, and how we can help you to transition for circular designs in your product development processes, or to help you to improve the products that you have already, or just in case that you are students, that you know that we are a great company that you can join in the future when you end up your career as well. Then I'll take most of the time talking about circular design, some of the principles, some of the practices, strategies, and things to consider to make a circular design. And finally, which could be some of the enablers that are required for a circular design. First of all, we are a company that is supporting our customers with highly qualified technological competence and advisory. And here it's the product development with human health technical decisions and NDR imbalance for the MedTech branch. Then we started with the mobility. So it's included, of course, automotive industry, but other items related to the vehicles, in not only cars, but as well as we can support some components, the definition and design for planes, for example. And we know that it is one branch in focus right now, and we have more than 30 years experience, 35 years experience with this in the medtech and the mobility too. And of course, in the security, because even though we need to work towards a peaceful society, and we believe that true security is a way to do it. And we have sustainability services that are related to this. Of course, you are free to go to our webpage if you want to know more, or if you are one of our customers already, you can contact your account manager. But basically, these are the ones that we can help you to regarding sustainability, which is the life cycle assessment and making the environmental product declaration through the ISO standards. Unfortunately, we cannot be the third party for verification, but we can help you to prepare the report against the standard, so you are ready to communicate how your products are performing in terms of environmental sustainability along the full life cycle. We can provide as well some workshops at different levels that could be with the leaders or could be just for a specific solution. And we'll provide a toolkit and we make a report on the process to go. And then the workshop with the team in case that you want to find something much more specific in your own process, or you want to customize your process and include sustainability in your own product development processes. We can help you and talk with the different stakeholders and making a findings report, making even the manuals of procedures or templates that are required for this. And finally, we want to help you to make a better design. So we can make a gap assessment with the actions that need to be taken. And in case that we are part of the project, all the actions that were taken, so this can help you as well to communicate in your report of sustainability what was done is key for your products. And of course, we can quantify the impacts through LCA, for example, if the data is required for your reporting too. And as we understand that it's not only about design, we provide as well some help to make the implementation of different management systems and have the standards. So once that I have presented my company, let me please introduce myself. My name is Karina Brett. Maybe you were wondering why I'm talking here. I'm the sustainability manager in Together Tech. We just started very early in the summer, this is Sustainable Business Unit, but there is a long way since 2011 that we started with this journey in sustainability. Now we realize that our customers require more help, and as well that we need to transition faster to a greener society. And that's why we think that awareness and education is important. And these webinars are part of our efforts to society to make a better world. Good to consider before starting this is that one single circular design strategy does not make the product circular. I will present some strategies, but the more strategies that you put, sometimes is the better, sometimes it's not. It will depend on each product, but it's important to know that we are going to present some examples that maybe are not fully circular, but are good examples of one single or a couple of strategies. The second one is some strategies could negatively affect the sustainable performance if not considered systemically. That means that if, for example, you add some material to increase the durability of the product, you will be reducing the sustainability in terms of the materials used for that product. But if you enlarge the durability, maybe you are not creating extra need for materials. That could be the case as well for using recycled materials or bio-based materials. So each case needs to be analyzed in a different way. How are the loads that the product is going to be subjected to? All products have environmental or social impacts. No such thing as the perfect forever circular product, at least not yet. And what I mean with this is that uh, at the end, all the products will have an end of life, and those products and those components that are worn and not even anymore functional will end up as waste or not usable even in the technosphere. I mean, with other as a flow to other companies or to other products because it's not longer feasible to do so. But the idea is that we minimize that amount of waste so we don't need to dispose of them. Every single product has room for improvement as more enables are supported by technology improvements, institutional collaboration, and so on. So we can celebrate that you introduce some circularity strategies, but it's a constant work and it's a continuous improvement. Circular design goes beyond climate change. This is very important because we know that the focus is right in climate change and creating a positive impact in societies. It's important too. The more global, the better. Now let's go to some design principles. I will start with this circular thinking or life cycle thinking. I'm sure that many of you know these kind of cycles that start with the raw materials extraction, the transformation of those raw materials, of course, the transportation beneath each of the processes. Then those raw materials are transformed into a component, for example, that can go through a product. The product needs to be distributed or sold in a store. It's going to be used, it's going to be maintained, and finally, it's going to be disposed or has an end of life. And we have two alternatives here. One of the alternatives is to pollute the things that we don't want to do. And the other alternative is to regenerate. And if it goes to the biosphere, there are biosphere and there are technosphere that can go through the same industrial system. It can be on the raw materials transformation, but it can be on other ways too. And the ideal of circularity is that we recirculate the end of life products or the components that are broken or not any longer functional and use them as to create new products or as feedback to other products. Then I'll talk about something that is called the 10 R's framework. And I'm going to mention those and we'll make a question afterwards. So please put attention. The intention of the 10 frameworks is that we go towards a circular economy. First, we want to refuse or reject. So the best product is one that it's not physically existing. I mean, it doesn't mean that you don't produce products. It means that you think how you can make business of a product that can be used for multiple persons, for example, or reduce the amount of products that you produce. Then it's rethinking precisely if you're going to refuse how you are rethinking your business model or even the function of a product or how the product is going to be produced, used, maintained. Reduce, that implies, of course, reduce the amount of products that you generate and all the components and the materials that go on this. And then we may move to one that it's maybe better, that is refill or reuse. Making reusable sometimes is better than making disposables. Repair, with the new movement for the right to repair, is really important as well. Refurbish and remanufacture, which are slight differences between them. Then we want to repurpose. That could be a design that from the very start, we are thinking of a second life of a product as another product, or we find a second life for a product that it maybe was not intended for that second life, but we find some way to put it in the technosphere. And then we go to the red zone, which is recycle, recovery. And with this recovery, I mean most of the times the energy recovery that we do with waste by generating electricity and dispose. Then I want to make a question. How many of you have known any on your job or in the school, like maybe the 10 R's or any of the R's that are mentioned there? Just a few seconds for you to answer. Okay. So with this, I want to say that the lower we are, it's the closest to the linear economy. And the top, and that's why it's in inverted triangle, we want to refuse and reject more production and more products in the terms of physical existing products or new virgin products, and that's more circular. So in the bottom, it's important that you notice that it's recycling. Many companies are now moving to this area of the triangle with refurbishing, remanufacturing, repurposing, and that's a great step. Many of them have many years already here, but we need to transition to the other side. And that's where we need to rethink how we can do it. Just remember that recycling is not circular. It's a good strategy when we don't have other alternative, any technology restrictions, but we need to think that including recycled products or materials or making a recycling uh, product is not circular. It's just a good strategy that should be used just when there is no other options. And of course, there are other terms in social sustainability and social circular economy, which I call the 5 R's for social circularity, which is making it reasonable price so everybody can choose the better sustainable circular solution and not just an elite for the people. That is reachable, so it can be present in different markets, not only in the ones that are more advanced in terms of environmental laws. That is rememberable, so the persons want to keep it at the end of their life and want to uh, maintain it so it's part of them, so they get attachment. That it's respectful for the persons that are involved along the full cycle, not only with the use, but could be as well for the production or maybe the waste managers at the end of life. And at the end that it's reliable, and that means that it's safe for everybody to be used and to be in contact with during the production, the end of life, the transportation of any other of the life cycle phases. I move then for some of the design strategies, circular design strategy in the product development. I will just mention them because there are a lot, and we will prepare a webinar for this specific. So if you have questions and if you want to want more, please contact us at the end and let us know which were the one that got your interest better. So how to introduce circularity in product development? There are some steps that need to be followed. First, you need to identify who the stakeholders are and which are the requirements for them. It's not only about the users, it's as well how the product is going to be disassembled, it's how the product is going to be assembled, it's how the communities are going to be related to your product. So think about how the product is going to interact with the different stakeholders at the different stages of the life of the product. Then you need to process the potential impacts and implication at long term. You can use, of course, a very rough life cycle assessment, which should not be used for communication because there is no real data here. It's just for you to know where to put your efforts. There are other strategies that are not maybe so time consuming as an LCA, but at least you need to figure out where you are. And you can start that making the environmental aspects in your environmental management system. Then you can translate the stakeholders' requirements to the product goals. So how these requirements that you found can be translated in technical attributes for your product and how you are going to improve over time. You need to set goals. And for that, of course, you need to apply some design for circularity strategies. What or which one of those are going to be useful for attend the request of the stakeholders? Or maybe it's not a request, it's just a requirement that they need to perform better or that we want them to have. So we are creating better societies too. And finally, you need to verify that environmental and social performance was correct. Sometimes we, as engineers, had very good intentions, and if we don't have the data behind, again, I'm going to mention life cycle assessment, for example, or any data behind of a carbon footprint, for example, and we just take decisions based on what we think is better, and we don't verify that, we might be committing an error and creating more problems that the product had before. So it's good that we verify that we did was okay. So now I'm going to present the design wheel for Together Techs on circular design. And this we start with extending the lifespan. So this wheel is all the strategies that need to be considered to make a circular design. So for extended lifespan of a product, it's good that we take into account the technical and functional emotional attachment or use that it's going to have. Technical, that of course nothing is broken, that can be functional for a long time. And let's going to make a difference within this functional. So it doesn't matter if it functions, if it works as a product technically. Maybe it starts open and closes, or it has a light on and off. That's working. That's a technical function. But if for the user or for the ones involved during the life cycle phase, it's not functional. So maybe it's difficult to disassemble for the ones that are going to maintain. It's difficult to assemble for the ones that are going to produce. Then it's not functional at all. So we need to consider the stakeholders there. And emotional lifespan and emotional durability. This is because we want the users to keep the product. Maybe they can make some arrangements or some changes in the product so they can keep it for longer, but 80% or maybe more can be with you at the end of the life cycle or how you are going to take it back. So it's important for the users that they get emotional attachment to the products too. Then it's going about the efficiency, and I'm sure that many of you have already taken this into account. That means that we use the least materials, the least resources, water, energy, and so on to produce the product, but as well to use it so the consumables are reduced. The production that we are efficient not only with the natural resources, but as well with the people that we use, that we create working conditions that are appropriate for them, and that they are safe conditions too. And at the end, that the emissions during any life cycle phase are minimized. We want to create a protective society, so we protect the environment. We think in an approach that is based on risk assessment. So instead of correcting an issue, we protect the environment. And then we think about maybe renewable sources. So how we can do better in using maybe biomaterials, or how we can mimic, for example, what is happening in the nature. So we nurture the nature, and that it's gone with the restorative design, how we are going to provide more than with what we take. This is a little bit more tricky than the previous one, but it's not impossible. I'm going to present a couple of examples in the future. Please, if there are any questions on this, or you have interest to know more, let us know in the questions and answers on the chat. So this is a good time and moment to put your questions. Do we have any questions now, Linda or Camila?
Not so far.
Okay.
Not in the chat.
Great. But finally, to make a proper design, we need to create collaboration ecosystems. And that means that it's not only, again, not only about the users, or not only about the suppliers, but we need to collaborate with other stakeholders. Could be the case for the healthcare, for example, could be the hospitals, how we are going to collaborate with them to reduce the waste, or how we are going to collaborate with the waste managers, so we are sure that we get a good return for the materials that can be used for us, or how we are going to collaborate with the logistics companies in case that the company doesn't get it. So we need to create collaboration, because without collaboration, it's going to be very difficult to make a circular product. It could be a great product and great design it, but if those strategies are not close, then the intention of the design is worthless, and all that work and all that money that was invested, it's not going to comply and fulfill their objective. We need to provide systemic solutions too. So it's not only about our company, maybe collaboration with other companies, how we are going to work together. Okay, competition is important, but collaboration is important too. So we reduce our cost and other items regarding to the business, but more importantly, the environmental and social impact of the products, and that we can find harmonized solutions that can be used in different markets, and are not only because maybe in one market the regulations are less strict. So we need to provide something that it's used for everybody as well. So some circular design strategies, I'm really going to be really fast on this. So please take note on the ones that you believe you want to want more, so we can program as our webinars too for on your interest. So the first one is design for the materialization. So we reduce the materials that we used, could be without creating new products or reducing the ones that are in the products. Design for durability, to enlarge the lifespan of a product, so it has less environmental impacts. Design for disassembly, so we make it easy to assemble and disassemble for maintenance and serviceability, or even to recover a defective part. Emotional attachment that are related somehow to the durability too. So we design so the persons get an attachment to this, that they don't want to change the product. Upgradability, it gets ready for no new upgrades in technology, or it could be software, or it could be technology and mechanical product components. Customization, now with the new thinking of Industry 5.0 customization, massive customization is going to be important, and support of emotional attachment. But again, be careful, because some trade-offs can happen if we don't use these for good. We need to use these strategies for the environment and for the people. Standardization, so it's easy to disassemble because there are standard tools or there are standard products, standard components, or even standard solutions. System change could be related to how do we think differently on how a product can fulfill their function without doing a new product or without producing new waste. Design for serviceability is really related to disassemble. Behavioral change, how we as engineers can nudge the behaviors of the users so the product is well used and less consumables or less energy or materials are used during the usage phase, or even how we can nudge a better management at the end of life. Design for multiple values. Is it possible that this product specific has a different use, not only for downcycling, but for another product as a flow, and not only a material, but as a full product? Does it need to make some modifications? Design for modularity. Modularity helps with all of them, the previous ones that we already mentioned. So it's easy to disassemble and easy to repair as well, and to have access to products that or to components that need to be replaced. Design for the environment. So we keep the chemicals less. We don't put toxic substances that can be accumulated over time. Design for transportation. So we reduce the resources required for transportation and as well the safety risk behind. Design for availability, that this design is available in markets and they don't pass months if they want to repair a product because it's produced, I don't know, in India and sold in the United States. So it's important that at least the components are available so it can be used and repaired. Design for resources efficiency. So less resources are used during the production, during the use, and the end of life as well. Design for storage, very related to transportation. Less space requires less resources too. Design for manufacturing, it's not only that it's easy to manufacture from a cost or feasibility point of view, but as well from a safety point of view, for a working condition point of view, for which are the manufacturing processes that we are going to select to reduce the impact on the environment. That it is functional, as I mentioned first in the third one, in the first the slide for the wheel. That is aesthetic, so we get some attachment as well. So it's nice to have, and that we create these feelings of I really like this product. It's not only functional, but as well it's something that I like to see or touch or any other sensation. And human-centered design. So we don't use standard products for a portion of the population that it's not representative for some maybe minorities or maybe a full market. I won't go into details on this. Please write down those that you want to know more. Let us know. Maybe we can do a webinar specific for that. So moving on the circular design strategies, just explaining the design for the materialization, for example, which I think is one of the key ones. This means that we want to reduce the quantity, mass, and type of materials of components, avoid the production of new products, minimize or eliminate consumables, one single platform for multiple functions. We use existing already produced products or digitalized products. That could be some strategies that can be contained in design for dematerialization. And as well, the services as product is one example of design for dematerialization. Then the design for durability could be that you make more robust designs, so they have longer life. They have multiple usage cycles instead of a few components. They minimize the wearable and breakable components. We increase the serviceability, so it enlarges the product life cycle, of course. Make it useful for the user, so it's not getting useless on the time. So, for example, these new softwares that make slower the components and so on. Make timeless design and create emotional attachment. And here I have a question for emotional attachment, now or later. Uh,
Yes, we had a question here from a participant saying that if emotional attachment can be in some situations bad, like keeping old non-working things instead of recycling or buying a better one. Do you have a view on that or tips or some?
yes,
Yeah.
indeed. That's why I mentioned that making a systemic design is really important. Because at the end, if we want to reduce the impacts during the life cycle, it's important that we consider that maybe this emotional attachment will create precisely that kind of problems. But that's something that we have taught before. So if it is not efficient, we can create these collaboration ecosystems to communicate the users. And sometimes, for example, the buildings are less energy efficient in the time, and it's better to put them down and create a new building. But as well, communication with the users is important so they understand why it is. So uh, when we design for circularity, it's always good that we find the right balance between how much do we want to gate attachment, and if we see this risk, which other strategies are we going to use so the users can improve the performance of their product or change it for a new that it's more efficient. So I move to the design for disassembly. This is the last strategy that I'm going to put some examples or what are included too. So please, if you have more questions of the others, let us know. Just because it's a very short time to explain all of them. But these are the ones that I consider, or we consider, that are key for the other ones and that support the other ones too. So design for disassembly implies that you reduce the different types of fasteners. So use the least type of fasteners is better instead of having 3 or 4 different screws in the design. That you prefer standardized fasteners and disassembly tools that are available commercially for the users as well, or even for your production. That you avoid permanent fastening methods as welding, gluing, soldering, riveting, and others. And that implies that as well you use other strategies. You want to minimize or eliminate the inserts or overmolding. Doesn't mean that if there are no other solutions, you can use it, of course, but just if there are no other options. And to avoid permanent fasting, you can use the clip pump like fastening or joining strategies. There are some rules as well to increase the durability of those and when you can use it depending on the load of the products. You want to make logical disassembly sequences and put the fasteners visible and reachable for the persons. Finally, thinking the ergonomic as a safe process, not only during the production, but as well during the maintenance and during the end of life when it's going to be disassembled for sorting or any other strategy like remanufacturing, for example. Now I'm going to talk very quickly on the regenerative design. Please, if you are more curious on these examples that I put, let us know and we can talk about how we can help you. Maybe if you have a product or we can talk on other strategies. But this is the regenerative design. Of course, now many things that are ideal, I mean. The regenerative design that means that we create net positive impact, that it provides more than it takes. It mimics ecosystems. It means that we can mimic living things or how the natural cycles work, like in the case of the water cycle, or even how the energy accumulation in the rocks could work, so we can mimic that in the product. We have a long-term vision. It's not only about acute effects or emissions in the short term, but how they are accumulated over time. We have a systemic vision, how it's going to interact with the different components of the ecosystem at local and global level. It replenishes resources and landscapes because we have taken from them, of course, and we need to think, okay, how we are going to replenish this. An example, how we are going to replenish the water. It promotes symbiosis. That means that this is a very specific word for those maybe that work with life sciences. So we want to create symbiosis with the environment, and maybe it could be as well with other companies or other products. Symbiosis means that we help each other to thrive, and it incorporates strategies to adapt to adverse circumstances, as in the case of climate change or other things that are coming, could be legal regulations that are increased or even customer demands. But we'll say, okay, there's a lot of things that we can do. So how do we start? I'm sure that you have started with this. Increase the recyclability of the product. That's a very good point to start. Make an energy efficient product and as well a material wise product that uses the least materials required for the production and the use. Incorporate non-virgin materials. Uh, I mean, sorry, this is avoid incorporating non-virgin materials that are renewable or recycled. Try to extend the product's lifespan, as we saw, emotionally, technically, and functionally, and hear different requirements and try to find the right partner from different stakeholders. You need to collaborate, and you need to think about who is going to be the stakeholder from the very design. So it means that you need to incorporate the circularity in the early design phases. And that means that you need to rethink the business models, and as well that you need to enable the collaborative systems. If you don't rethink the business model and you don't think who are you going to collaborate with, the design process for the design engineers is going to be a little more difficult if you don't know how to solve some trade-offs, for example, on the design. So if the designers find a trade-off, it's good that you have that communicated in your company so everybody knows which strategies you can use. And this is questions for you. This is how we look at sustainability and circular design. So how should we incorporate circularity? And if we were talking that the product is an X, the corporate practices is a Y, and the business model is a Z, um, it could be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, or 1, 1, 1, from 1 to 5. Where do you think that your company is in terms of circularity? I provide some few seconds just for you to answer. You don't need to answer if you don't want, but you can make as well the reflection on your own. Where in this plane are you? Or do you have a circular or a linear business model? Are the corporate practices ethical practices, or the product is very good product, but it's not still circular, it's linear? So try to answer where are you. If you can and if you want, let us know. Here, I want to say that think about the markets. Different markets will have different circumstances, as example, recycling technologies or logistics, or even the usability of that. So you need to think about different markets. Different products will have different ways to include circularity. And it's not only about the market like his selling or a need for marketing, but how it's going to be used, how it's going to be produced, how it's going to be disposed, or come back to you in case that you decide that it's going to be a strategy for you. Then think about the stakeholders. who you need to collaborate with, and who are the customers or who are the producers that you are going to have an interaction with. Then try to create a collaboration systems. For that, you need to understand very well the stakeholders' needs. But that means as well that the stakeholders are the governments. This includes regulations and standards. Define very well the product's function, how it's going to be used, who is going to use it, why, what is going to happen with this product during full life, the usage life of the product, or even during the production. You need to identify who are going to, to be the manufacturing and transportation partners, so you reduce the impact. But as well, who is going to be the partners for the maintenance strategies? And of course, you need to define which are going to be the strategies before you choose the partners. And during the design, even, it's how it's going to be used after the end of life. Is there a market, afterlife market, where you are going to sell this, or just in some areas? You can treat your product differently depending on the market that you do. So, but finally, is you need to define from the design how it's going to be reprocessed, which are going to be the routes to do that. If you want to recirculate, if you want to remanufacture, if you want to recycle, how you are going to do it, and who are going to be the partners for that. So if you see, a lot of partnership along the full life cycle is required. And this is a case I want to point out. I don't know if you knew, but this is a statistics from the healthcare system in the UK, but it's a global health statistics as a generalization. Let's say 85% of the healthcare waste is non-hazardous, while just 15% is hazardous. Though 100% of the waste is treated as if it were hazardous, just in case. So for the healthcare companies that provide disposable items that, of course, are needed for the safety of the patients, maybe collaboration with the hospitals or with the suppliers or the logistics is key to have a circular business. Just thinking in reducing the carbon footprint is enough. And here I want you to have some hints. For it is important to know that the preventable environmental impacts come in the design phase. It's about 70 to 80%. This comes from the European Sustainable Product Policy and the London Design Council, and you are going to hear this very commonly in the different webinars or educations that you have on sustainability. You can prevent environmental impacts from the design in the different life cycle phases. But as well, not everything is about carbon emissions. There are a bunch of other impacts, social and environmental impacts, and of course, economic impacts that are out there. So try to move forward beyond carbon emissions. So just to close, let's going to have 5 takeaways. First, we learned that circularity is more about avoiding creating new products than recirculating them. So just the ones that are left in terms of waste need to have a second way to use it. So first, try not to produce more. Circular thinking is a combination of life cycle thinking and systemic thinking. We already have systemic thinking as engineers, but let's incorporate life cycle thinking with the different stakeholders too. Collaboration and environment involvement of multiple stakeholders is key for enable close loops. We already discussed this a lot. Stakeholders, 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 partners, 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 every time, everywhere. Our circular design process is like the regular one, but with a different point of view. So you are already making some circular decisions. Just try to go forward. And this is the final thinking that I want to provide. If you are, now that you learn all this, inadvertently have applied some circular design principles, scale it and improve them. There's no a perfect product. There's always a product that can be improved. And that's where we need to think always, improve what it's already there. Don't think that your product is perfect. There is always room to improve. So rethink. Circularity shall be as important as quality, safety, or cost. Find the right balance. The circular design is not a verification process. It starts with the very concept. So avoid just putting a check when everything is designed, just to check that there are no substances in there, for example, and be compliant with REACH. It starts from the very beginning. Ecosystem thinking is required for a product to achieve its maximal potential. And as we saw, recycling is not circular. It's a very good strategy when we don't have any other alternative, but should be the last approach that we need to think when the product is no longer feasible. And reducing the carbon footprint is not necessarily circular. It could have some impact as well, because if you reduce the materials, the energy use, and so on, it could affect the circularity, but it's not everything. There are other things. To close, I know that now maybe you are really overwhelmed. It was a lot of information, or maybe you have right now a lot of ideas of how to apply them. Of course, we can help you with those, but let's think into account. Circularity could be seen very difficult, mainly if the business model is linear, but it's not impossible. It's just we need to think differently. So it's better to start small than doing nothing at all. So remember that careers are made of for taking steps. So even though you don't have the super circular product, if you are started with something, it's much better than not doing nothing. But with the new Green Claims Act, it's important that you communicate as well your opportunities to improve. Never stop trying. Obstacles are just opportunities to learn and innovate. And I think that we are really resilient as engineers that design for sustainability too. Is it valid to celebrate the small but steady steps? Continuous improvement is key. Just communicate properly in a very transparent and honest way to be sure that you are not collaborating with greenwashing, for example. But it's valid to celebrate the small steps that you take. And here, be bold, take the risk, and embrace the failures. It's valid to fail. What it's not valid, it's that you don't do anything to correct the failures. So we are humans. Even though we are making products that we want to make them perfect, the products are designed for us and with us and by us. So think about it. We want the perfect product, of course, but the perfect product comes with practice. So remember, as much as you produce more and have more experience, you get better products. So thank you very much. This is a follow-up information. We have a LinkedIn. Please follow the media from Together Tech. And you can follow me. There is a QR code if you want to follow me in LinkedIn as well. If you want to write me or give a call, please let so. You can as well visit our webpage and stay tuned for our next webinar. So I think that we just have some few minutes for the presentation. So if there are questions, I'm going to move this to questions now. Please, we are going to open now the microphones, but please first raise a hand so Linda can provide the order of who can make the questions, and we will answer that. And if we don't have the answer now, we can come with you later and we write down the question and provide some information for you. As well, if we don't have time, which I think that we have for all the questions, we will take them as well with us. So let's move forward for the questions now. I'm going to stop my presentation and stop sharing for you to ask. Any questions among the participants?
No, not so far.
I have said here is one way could be educating people. Yeah, I think that Anup, I present as well Anup. It's one of our sustainability engineers here, and he answered about the emotional attachment. But as I told, and he said very specifically, yes, provide incentives to the users to return those products could be something that can provide a solution. So we know that maybe there are better products that are more efficient, but we have already designed them, so we can take them back and refurbish, maybe remanufacture, or maybe redesign, repair, or something, and we get back another product. And as very smartly Anup said, there are as well business models that are products or services. So we are selling the function, not the product. So that could be as well something additionally. So as we previously said on emotional attachment, it's good to find the right balance on what we want to include in the product, and we need to think forward on what is going to happen with this. So sometimes engineers will need to know not only uh, for the design, but if it is pretty and if it how it's going to be used for different users and know the market. So it's not only about the design, we need to get involved in the full strategy. And here we have, can we sign up for email notifications of upcoming webinars? Yes, please send us. Well, we have already your information, but please send me to me information, or you just can contact Together Tech, and we'll put you in our newsletter to provide information of the coming webinars. Thank you, Simon, for the next. We will have some other webinars along the next year. This year is a little bit short for us, and we are sorry that you had very short notice on this, but we thought that it was a very good opportunity to take for the Circular Week. So thank you very much as well for the Circular Hotspot for Poland for let us participating in this week. And we invite you as well that if you want to know more about the different strategies, the different strategies, let us know and we can help you. And we can coach you as well. If you have teams, we can be part of a multidisciplinary team. But if you are students and you are just about to end up, please think in Together Tech as a good company. We are committed to create a better world. And this is one of the first steps we take, because we think that knowledge and awareness is really important to create a better society. So it's not only for us, but it's for everybody, and we are creating partnership too. So no more questions from the public. You have not talked about packed material. I think that it's important to reuse and recycle. That also important is not mix different materials in package. Yes, correct. Part of improving the recyclability, for example, could be not mixing different materials so they can be sorted, but it can be the considerations for the market are different. In certain markets, for example, the paper and coating for aluminum and plastic, it's not recyclable, while in others it is. So we need to know very well the market and how we are going to work in consider that. So we take them back or maybe create another business model. If sometimes creating this recirculation or reusable packaging could create more greenhouse gases, for example, if you don't have the right facilities. I can provide, for example, a project where I was involved. It was not for packaging, but it was for recycling the packaging. So we made a life cycle assessment on this project and find out that the greenhouse gases increased just because of the transportation from collecting and then putting on the facilities, because there were very few facilities in the municipality that we wanted to do that. So we need to think systemically. And about the packaging material, different products have different challenges. For example, the medical devices, some that need to be packed in a very sterile way, it cannot contain, for example, recycled materials in some cases, depending on application, or even material which is permeable for gases, for example. So sometimes plastic is the best solution, or aluminium. So other strategies need to be taken into account. That's why I mentioned, for example, collaboration with the healthcare system to find out which could be other strategies to handle this waste that it's not really hazardous, that can be treated in other way. So it's not only about the design, but as well the reprocessing ways to do. And yes, packaging material, there are some regulations behind. Now the producer have some responsibility as well for packaging material. If you want to know more as well, please contact us. Precisely because we want to increase the reusability and to reduce the waste that comes with the packaging. But yes, it was a really, really good observation. Sorry, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correct. But yeah, packaging is as well part of the design. As we saw in the Vitrolife case, it's not only about designing a product, but how the packaging is going to influence the transportation, how it's going to influence maybe the persons that are going to carry that and put them in the truck. So it's ergonomic to carry as well. So yeah, correct. Packaging, it's part of the design too. And sometimes the geometry of the design can influence packaging too. Do we have any question or comment? No?
No.
You're welcome, Soren. So thank you very much for joining. I'm going to put again the slide with my contact and keep it a few minutes for you. So in case that you want to know more and you want to contact us, of course, again, you are free to contact Together Tech directly. So let me share the screen again so you have my contact information. There it is. So thank you again for joining. We hope that you have enjoyed this. Be prepared because we are going to talk in more deep on some of the things that we have talked here. It was a very short time, but we think that sharing this information and sharing this with engineers that make design of products is really important. So we change the mindset from the very beginning. So thank you very much. Take care and see you next time on our next webinar. Bye-bye. Yes, I see that there was a hand. Like, sir, can you hear me well?
It's Camila's hand.
Oh.
I think that somebody called named Lexer raised the hand. Yes.
It was Camila. No one else.
Okay, good. Well, so thank you again. If you now get any additional question, you can just write and put it down in the email, and we can answer to you. So take care. Thank you very much, and see you next time.